And for those of you who are conservative leaning on the call, is that why do you feel that concentrating on difference just being and not being bad or good, but just being different is a struggle sometimes for conservatives? Like, conservatives seem to want to highlight it. I'm not saying that liberals don't. Liberals will highlight it, but it's like as though if you talk about, for example, the uniqueness of Black history and with what Maren and Marcus have shared and I've shared, that breeds an air of defensiveness. And so I have to wonder, with we have more in common than we are different. Why do some people, especially some that are conservative leaning, feel uncomfortable with that?
I think that's a great question, Andre. And like the conservative mindset is, steeped in the American civic religion, I would say. The kind of what I've been talking about is my historical interpretation is that, this was handed down by God, and these were great and upstanding people who made amazing advances in setting up democracy, and that got the ball rolling on this American project, right? That is a conservative mindset, and it's hard to deal with the dissonance that happens when you realize how those people were sometimes terrible people, and they may have been your heroes growing up, and then so terrible people can do amazing things too, and amazing, good people can do, some pretty bad things too. It's much more messy and complicated than I think a lot of us learned, especially if you grew up in conservative areas, so that can breed a little bit of discomfort, a little bit. You want to lash back and defend it immediately, without really thinking about it. So
Susan, I see you nodding in awareness. Does this strike a chord with your experience?
Yeah, and I don't consider myself conservative. I consider myself like a moderate. At this point, I'm a moderate libertarian. So there's and in the libertarian and also conservative thought, there's an emphasis on individualism and individual responsibility. And so if your situation is bad, you need to take care of it. Work hard, buckle down, make things better for yourself. So I think that comes from more the conservative side.
Landon, you talked about it's hard to, when you learn a certain vision of history, in particular in conservative areas, to feel proud of, and it's hard to integrate information that might, complicate that, as you've said previously, right? I'm struck by, and it kind of relates also to something Marcus said earlier in this conversation. In the first conversation, you said it's a natural impulse on the part of law enforcement when you're criticized, right? For police shootings, it's a natural response when you experience antagonism to close ranks and want to say Blue Lives Matter, for instance. That was the conversation we were having, and I know for obvious and valid reasons, Marcus, you also feel that, right? How do we criticize without being antagonistic? Like, how do we complicate our vision of something that we see value in, whether it's the history, as you talk about it, Landon, or law enforcement and its function, Marcus, as you experience it, but they're imperfect, as was just, described. And if we can't criticize, we can never improve. But sometimes criticism is taken as antagonism. And sometimes it is genuinely antagonism and hate put toward, but what is the way for us to be able to question and criticize and improve but do it together, right? Without this kind of mutual antagonism. I don't know if what are your thoughts on that? Are we too quick to defensiveness, or are we too quick to harshly criticize? I'm just interested because you're both uniting. You have, everyone on this call has a uniting kind of ethos, right? But sometimes uniting is just keep the peace without rocking the boat. And sometimes the boat is rickety in some way. Right? What are your thoughts on that?
I keep going back to this whole twofold approach idea. So when I say the problem that I have with the antagonizing or the criticism is more so the personal experiences and the blatant confrontation that comes from it. It's like every person you encounter, or majority of people, it's like it could literally be a traffic stop that your tags are expired, and the moment you walk up to the car, you're hit with confrontation right off the bat, and it's like, why does it even have to go there? But again, I don't have the answer to that, because even when it's peaceful, and say the NFL takes a knee during the national anthem, that's the most peaceful criticism that there can be, but yet there was a problem with it. Yeah. And then it turned into, you hate this country and that's disrespectful to the flag and the Constitution. So I don't know. Personally, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought that it was a great way to bring awareness to it. But some of my counterparts thought that it was just the most egregious thing in the world. And so I'll just say, I love America. I love this country. I have the Constitution hanging up in my office. But on one hand, you want Black America to love America wholeheartedly and to love this document called the Constitution, but we weren't even counted as whole people historically. So I don't know, like, what is a peaceful criticism? What is non-confrontational? Because someone's always going to have a problem with it. So I don't have the answer to that.
But that would be an aspiration for you, is to get to the point where that criticism can happen.
Yes, but I think,
and then it enters into a conversation about it. Sorry,
but it takes each person individualistically to be able to reach that point mindset wise, to even reach that commonality. So I don't know.
To watch the rest of that episode, go ahead and click the video below me.
To see a different compelling Healing Race episode, you can click the video below me. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.